You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Syracuse football, midway through the third quarter, was dead. Dead to rights. They're at home. It's alumni weekend. It's homecoming. Halloween weekend, too. And they're down 21-3 midway through the third. Looking lifeless. It was bad. But it's Halloween. Halloween weekend. Trick or treat, right? And boy, Syracuse, they had us fooled. They had us tricked. But then they delivered the treat. That's right, they do. They come back and win this one, 38-31 in overtime. And I'm here to recap the game for you because it was ugly. When Allie Jennings caught that touchdown pass to make it 21-3 Virginia Tech, they were screwed. It was over. On to basketball season. But then Syracuse woke up. I kept on thinking this to myself, and I said it to someone who I was DMing during the game. I was texting my dad during the game that Syracuse needed a spark. They needed a spark. They needed something to go right in their favor. Because up until midway through the third quarter, nothing was going right. Nothing. McCord throws a bad interception. Daryl Gill has a fumble. And, I mean, it's just going to happen, right? They're down 21-3. Nothing's good. Defense looks shaky. Offense can't muster anything now for 6 straight quarters because you go back to the Pitt game. And then they got a spark. And it came from someone who, up until this point, it might as well have been Halloween this entire season because he had been a ghost. He had been invisible. That's right. I'm talking about Justus Ross-Simmons. Well, you know what? To be fair, I'll be fair to Justus Ross-Simmons. A lot of it wasn't his fault. He was injured. But then even when he came back, he was a ghost. He was invisible. Couldn't even get on the field. His first catch of the season. And this just makes me chuckle. It just makes me chuckle. It makes me laugh. Is a 5-yard hitch. It's a 5-yard hitch route. And he takes it 55 yards to the house. That moment right there, with about 6 minutes left in the third quarter, completely changed this game for the betterment of Syracuse. For the betterment of Syracuse. Finally, they got something to go right. McCord to Justus Ross-Simmons, who breaks a tackle and takes it 55 yards to the house. His first catch of the season. It was incredible. And now Syracuse is 21-10. And you need the defense now to step up. It's 21-10. There's a little bit of life in the building, and they do. The defense steps up. They get a stop. They get a stop. By the way, there was a 3rd and 9 on that drive, and Syracuse football, for the first time ever all year, decides, hey, let's blitz on 3rd and 9 and see what happens. And lo and behold, they force an early throw, and their quarterback overthrows an open receiver. Schlee overthrew him on a 3rd and 9. It would have been a deep pass for a first down. But it was incomplete. Syracuse gets the ball back. They're running the ball right down Virginia Tech's throat. 21-16. Still in the third quarter. Still in the third quarter. And then they get a 2-point conversion to make it 21-18 because LeQuint Allen picked up a blitz, gave McCord enough time, who throws to Arondé Gadsden, 21-18. Now, all of a sudden, you can feel it. The comeback is really starting, right? They get that spark. 55-yard play to Justus Ross-Simmons. They get the stop on defense you need. Then they get another score and a 2-point conversion. It's 21-18. Virginia Tech gets the ball back, and they fumble. Duce Chestnut forces the fumble, and it was, I think, the best tackle that Duce Chestnut has ever made. He wraps up the ball carrier. He jars the football loose. Marlowe Wax is on the recovery. We'll get to Marlowe Wax later on because he was sensational in this game. Oh, did he look like an NFL player today? Let me tell you. And Syracuse football scores another touchdown. They get a short field. And who else but the man who started it all in Justus Ross-Simmons makes another play. He runs a slant route. There are two guys on him. They both fail to bring him down, and he's gone. Justus Ross-Simmons had been a ghost. Now, he might as well have been a good ghost because they couldn't tackle him. He looked like Deebo Samuel. They could not tackle him. Unbelievable. Custo's in the lead 24-21. We're all feeling good about ourselves, right? I'm describing to you guys this comeback. It was incredible. And of course, the extra point gets blocked. It maybe should have been a penalty, honestly, but whatever. I'm not here to complain about refs. 24-21. And of course, Virginia Tech puts a drive together. They go up 28-21. Syracuse can't tackle for you-know-what. You can fill in the blank with what I would have said, but, I would like to make money on this podcast, so I can't say that word. But they can't tackle. Virginia Tech scores a touchdown. 28-21. Syracuse gets the ball back. It's 3rd and 7 in their own territory. And finally, Antoine Powell-Ryland, their star pass rusher, gets loose, sacks Kyle McCord. Syracuse has to punt. Not good. Still relatively early on in the fourth quarter. But now they have to punt. It's not looking good. And to make matters worse, they compound that with a fair catch interference on Marcellus Barnes. Now, it wasn't the biggest contact in the world, but the bottom line is the rules are the rules. You can't touch the guy who's going to catch a ball on a punt when he calls a fair catch. You can't. Kick catch interference. You can't do it. And he touched him. And once again, the defense can't tackle. Oh boy, Virginia Tech is just going to ram it right down our throats. But no, they don't. They don't. The Syracuse defense holds. It's 31-24. They hold them to 3 points. All things being considered, even though they couldn't tackle well, the defense stepped up when it had to. It did. It made the plays necessary to win. The necessary plays to give the offense a chance, which was now humming, even after that stop. There's 5 minutes left. They're down by 7 points. And you know what Syracuse decides to do? Because we sometimes will criticize the coaching, we'll praise the coaching. I'm going to praise the coaching here now. And I'm going to rip Virginia Tech's Brent. I'm going to rip their coach in a second. What is it? Brent Pry? Is that his name? Right? Yeah, Brent Pry, their head coach. Syracuse football is like, you know what? We can run the ball. Because all day, Syracuse had been running the ball effectively. They go to LeQuint Allen, and LeQuint Allen did most of the work on that drive to tie the game at 31-31. What did Syracuse finish with rushing yards? Only 130, but LeQuint Allen had 121 yards on 21 carries. That's 5.8 yards per carry. And Virginia Tech came into this game as the second worst rush defense in the ACC. It was two completely different defenses. I previewed that at the beginning of the week. They can't stop the run. And Syracuse on that final drive to tie the game ran the ball for the most part. And Brent Pry just doesn't want to call timeouts. He decided to sit on all 3 timeouts. Syracuse smartly recognizes that. They bleed the clock to 29 seconds, and they score the game-tying touchdown. They kick the extra points, 31-31. Virginia Tech doesn't even try to score on its next drive. We go to overtime. Thank you, Brent Pry, for going to the Barry Odom School of Clock Management. Let me tell you what, guys. Coaching is hard. It's hard. But sometimes these coaches make it a whole lot harder than it has to be. Brent Pry. Unbelievable. Not calling timeouts. The Syracuse defense was shaky all game long, and you're not calling timeouts to preserve time so you can go down the field and potentially win the game. You have one of the best kickers in the country on your team. But Syracuse gets the break. They bleed the clock all the way down. They tie the game. We go to overtime. 2 plays, Syracuse scores. And then this defense, it steps up. Its leader in Marlowe steps up, forces a fumble, Syracuse recovers, and they win this game. Unbelievable. I basically started this game recap talking about it from 21-3 on, because that's really what matters. Justus Ross-Simmons with the spark, and Marlowe with sensational defense, combined with poor clock management on Virginia Tech's part and good clock management on Syracuse's part, led the Orange to a 38-31 comeback victory inside the Dome. And guess what? We're going bowling now. That's right.